If nobody else answers, call me. Maya Brooks had spent 14 months pretending those 7 words meant nothing. At 11:57 p.m., beneath the merciless fluorescent lights of St. Catherine's Hospital, they suddenly meant everything. She sat alone on a molded plastic chair beside a vending machine that hummed louder than the nearly empty emergency wing. Her discharge papers trembled between her fingers. Beyond the glass doors, Chicago rain streaked the windows silver, turning headlights into blurred rivers across the pavement. The person who had promised to come back for her was gone. No message, no explanation, just gone. Maya lowered her eyes to her phone. For percent. She had called twice already, straight to voicemail. Her thumb hovered over her contacts, passing names she knew she could technically call. Her mother would answer, but Denise Brooks lived nearly 2 hours away and had to be at work before sunrise. Her cousin had 3 children sleeping in a 1-bedroom apartment. Her closest friend was working an overnight shift. Maya could have called any of them, but asking people who were already struggling to carry one more piece of her life felt cruel. So she opened her purse. At the bottom, beneath an expired bus pass, 2 folded receipts, and $7 in cash, was a black card. No company name, no address, no title, only a phone number written in silver ink. And beneath it, in handwriting she had never forgotten. If nobody else answers, call me. Maya stared at the card. 14 months earlier, Marcus Cole had placed it in her hand. She hadn't called once. Not when her landlord raised the rent. Not when her car died. Not when she worked 11 straight days because missing one shift meant choosing between groceries and electricity. Because everyone in Chicago knew what it meant to owe Marcus Cole something. His name rarely appeared in newspapers, but it traveled through expensive restaurants in lowered voices. Men with political connections returned his calls. Business owners locked doors when his black SUVs stopped outside. Marcus Cole didn't need to announce power. Rooms did it for him, and Maya had promised herself she would never become another person standing in front of him asking for something. Tonight, that promise felt heavier than her pride could carry. A nurse walked past without looking at her. Maya swallowed, then typed the number. Her thumb stopped above the green button. "Don't do this," she whispered. The vending machine hummed. Rain tapped against the glass. Her battery dropped to 3%. Maya closed her eyes and pressed call. 1 ring. Her heart kicked against her ribs. 2. She almost hung up. 3. Click. Silence. Then a man's voice came through the darkness. Low. Controlled. Awake. Cole. Maya forgot how to breathe. Somewhere on the other end of the line, Marcus Cole was sitting at the head of a midnight meeting when his private phone vibrated beside his hand. Only 12 people had that number. 11 of them worked for him. The 12th hadn't called in 14 months. Marcus glanced at the unfamiliar number, answered, and heard nothing. Yet he didn't hang up. Maya! Her eyes snapped open. He remembered. That frightened her more than if he hadn't. "Mr. Cole?" Her voice cracked, and she hated herself for it. Marcus straightened in his chair. Around the long walnut table, 6 men stopped speaking. Nobody interrupted Marcus Cole. Nobody watched him twice. But tonight they did, because something in his face had changed. "Maya," he repeated. "Where are you?" She looked down at the hospital bracelet still circling her wrist. "I shouldn't have called." Marcus's jaw tightened. "That isn't what I asked." She pressed her lips together, fighting the humiliation burning behind her eyes. St. Catherine's. A pause. Not long, but long enough for Marcus to hear what she was desperately trying to hide. "Fear. I can pay you back," Maya said quickly. "Whatever this costs, I can work it off. I don't have anyone who can come right now." Marcus looked around the table. Contracts worth millions lay open before him. Men who had crossed half the city for this meeting waited for his next word. He closed the folder. "Meeting's over." Every face froze. One man blinked. "Marcus, we haven't finished." Marcus stood. The room went silent. On the phone, Maya heard movement. "Mr. Cole?" He picked up his coat. "Stay inside." Her fingers tightened around the phone. What? I said stay inside. For the first time that night, his voice softened. Barely. But Maya heard it. I'm coming. The call ended. Maya stared at the dark screen. 12:03 a.m. She had expected Marcus Cole to send money. Maybe a driver. Maybe one of the frightening men who followed him everywhere. She had never imagined that the most feared man she knew would leave everything behind and come himself. But Maya didn't yet understand why. And Marcus didn't yet understand that this midnight call was about to teach him something his entire empire never had. Being feared could make thousands of people obey you. Being trusted enough to receive one desperate phone call was something else entirely. 14 months earlier, Maya Brooks had learned that powerful men could bleed just like everyone else. It happened on a Thursday night at the Langford Hotel, where Maya worked the housekeeping shift nobody wanted. From 4 in the afternoon until midnight, cleaning behind people wealthy enough to leave half-eaten dinners beside $100 tips and still complain about fingerprints on the mirrors. At 11:18 p.m., she was pushing a linen cart through the service corridor when she heard something hit the floor. Not loudly, just a dull, human weight against concrete. Maya stopped. The hallway smelled of detergent, steam, and industrial cleaner. Somewhere behind the kitchen doors, silverware clattered as the closing crew finished their work. Then she heard breathing. Ragged. Wet. Hello. No answer. Maya rounded the corner. A black man in a dark suit was sitting against the wall, one hand pressed beneath his ribs. Blood had soaked through his white shirt and spread between his fingers. His eyes snapped toward her. Keep walking. Maya froze. Every sensible instinct told her to obey. Instead, she looked at the blood. You need an ambulance. No ambulance. That wasn't a question. She dropped beside him. The man's hand moved toward his jacket. Maya saw the shape beneath it. A gun. Her breath caught. But she didn't run. She grabbed 2 clean towels from her cart and pressed them against his wound. He hissed. Lady, hold this. Footsteps thundered behind them. Maya turned. Her night manager, Leonard Price, appeared at the end of the corridor. The moment he saw the wounded man, his face drained of color. Maya, get away from him. He's bleeding. I can see that. Then call 911. Leonard lowered his voice. You don't understand who these people are. Maya looked at him, then at the man bleeding through her towels. No, she said quietly. I understand exactly what he is right now. Leonard stared. He's hurt. For 1 second, nobody moved. Then the service doors opened. 3 black men in tailored dark suits entered. The atmosphere changed instantly. The first 2 moved like security, eyes scanning exits, hands close to their jackets. The third man didn't hurry. He didn't need to. Marcus Cole walked toward them with the controlled stillness of someone accustomed to rooms making space before he asked. 37. Broad-shouldered, black overcoat, dark eyes that seemed to measure everything once and never need a second look. Maya didn't know his name yet, but Leonard did. Mr. Cole. Marcus ignored him. His attention settled on the wounded man. Darius. I'm good, boss. Marcus looked at the blood covering his shirt. No, you're not. Then his gaze moved to Maya. Her uniform was cheap gray polyester. Her knees were against the concrete. Blood stained both hands. And she was still holding pressure on the wound. Who are you? Maya Brooks. You work here. She nodded. Marcus looked toward Leonard. Why is she the one helping him? Leonard swallowed. I was handling the situation. Maya's eyes lifted. No, you weren't. Silence. One of Marcus's men almost smiled. Marcus didn't, but something shifted behind his eyes. Within minutes, Darius was being moved toward a private vehicle where a doctor was already waiting. Maya stood beside her abandoned linen cart, staring at the blood drying across her palms. Marcus remained. He reached inside his coat. Maya stiffened. He removed a thick envelope. Take it. She looked at it. What is it? Enough. For what? Marcus seemed almost surprised by the question. For helping my man. Maya wiped her hands slowly on the towel. I don't want it. Now he studied her. People didn't refuse Marcus Cole. Not favors. Not warnings. Certainly not money. You saved his life. I kept pressure on a wound. You did it when your manager told you not to. That doesn't make it something I should sell. The corridor became strangely quiet. Marcus looked at the envelope, then back at her. Everybody wants something. Maya met his eyes. Maybe that's why you think kindness always comes with an invoice. He froze. Leonard looked horrified. But Maya simply picked up the handle of her linen cart. She was exhausted. Her feet hurt. Room 1814 still needed fresh towels. She didn't have time to be impressed by a dangerous man's money. Marcus slowly returned the envelope to his coat. Then he took out something else. A black card. He wrote a number across it in silver ink and held it toward her. Maya hesitated. I told you I don't want payment. It isn't payment. Then what is it? Marcus looked at her for a long moment. If nobody else answers, call me. She took the card only because refusing twice felt unnecessary. Then she pushed her card away. Marcus watched her disappear around the corner. 14 months would pass before that number ever appeared on his phone. And when it finally did, Marcus Cole would remember the woman who had refused his money, but accepted his word. How much? The question came so quickly that Maya almost laughed. Not because anything was funny, because of course that was Marcus Cole's first question. 14 months earlier, he had tried to repay kindness with an envelope full of cash. Tonight, with Maya sitting beneath the sterile lights of St. Catherine's Hospital, he still believed every problem had a number attached to it. I didn't call you for money. Silence answered her. Across the city, Marcus stopped halfway toward the conference room door. Behind him, 6 men waited around the walnut table, watching their boss do something none of them had seen him do before. Hesitate. What happened? Marcus asked. Maya stared at the discharge papers folded across her lap. It's complicated. I have time. You just ended a meeting. His eyes narrowed. How do you know? I heard someone arguing before you hung up. For the faintest moment, something almost resembling amusement touched Marcus's face. Even frightened, she noticed things. Tell me what happened. Maya swallowed. 3 hours earlier, she had arrived at St. Catherine's believing she wouldn't be leaving alone. Someone had promised to wait. Someone had promised to drive her home. Someone had looked directly into her eyes and said, I'll be right here when you're done. But when Maya had been discharged, the chair beside her was empty. Then the calls went unanswered, the messages unread. Eventually, humiliation became heavier than fear. I just need a ride, she said. Marcus's expression hardened. That's all. That's all. Then why do you sound like you're trying not to cry? Maya closed her eyes. I'm not crying. I didn't say you were. Another silence. This one hurt. Maya turned toward the rain-darkened windows so the nurse at the desk wouldn't see her face. I shouldn't have called you. You've said that twice. Because it's true. No, Marcus's voice changed. Still controlled. Still unmistakably his. But quieter. You kept my number for 14 months. You never used it. So if tonight was bad enough to make you call, stop apologizing for calling. Maya's throat tightened. She hated how much those words affected her. I can pay for the gas, she whispered. Marcus stopped walking. What? The ride. I can pay you back. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then, Maya. Yes. I own 6 cars. Despite herself, she smiled. Only slightly. Marcus heard it in her breathing, and something inside him eased. Then Maya said the sentence that changed everything. I just didn't want to be alone anymore. Marcus's face went still. The men behind him disappeared from his awareness. The contracts disappeared. The money disappeared. For years, people had called Marcus Cole because they wanted protection, influence, revenge, permission. Nobody called him because they believed his presence might make the darkness feel smaller. He looked down at his watch. 12:03 a.m. Darius. The wounded man Maya had saved 14 months earlier was now standing near the conference room. Windows, a thin scar beneath his ribs, the only visible reminder of that night. Yes, boss. Cancel everything. One of the men at the table leaned forward. Marcus, this deal cannot wait until morning. Marcus looked at him. The man leaned back. Apparently it could. Darius reached for his phone. I'll send Malcolm with the Escalade. No, Darius paused. Marcus pulled on his coat. I'm going. That made the room silent. Darius studied him. For a pickup? Marcus buttoned the coat. For Maya. Recognition crossed Darius's face immediately. The woman from the hotel. The woman who had held a towel against his wound while everyone else worried about consequences. He nodded once. I'll drive. Marcus shook his head. Stay here. Outside St. Catherine's, rain hammered the pavement. Inside, Maya watched her phone battery fall to 2%. She still expected a driver. Maybe a bodyguard. Maybe someone holding a sign with her name. 22 minutes later, headlights swept across the hospital windows. A black SUV stopped beneath the entrance canopy. The driver's door opened. Polished shoes touched wet pavement. Then Marcus Cole stepped into the rain. No umbrella. No entourage. No men surrounding him. Just a tall black man in a dark coat walking toward automatic glass doors at midnight because 14 months earlier, he had made a promise to a woman who wanted nothing from him. Maya looked up. Their eyes met through the glass. And for the first time that night, she stopped feeling abandoned. Marcus Cole entered St. Catherine's Hospital without an umbrella, and somehow the rain seemed less noticeable than the silence that followed him inside. Maya watched from beside the vending machine. Water darkened the shoulders of his black wool coat. His polished shoes left faint prints across the white tile. He had come alone. No driver, no bodyguards, none of the men she remembered from the Langford Hotel. For a man whose reputation arrived before he did, Marcus looked strangely ordinary at midnight. Tired, even. Then his eyes found hers. Everything else disappeared. Maya stood too quickly. Pain pulled through her body, and her hand caught the chair. Marcus noticed. Of course, he noticed. He crossed the lobby in measured steps and stopped in front of her. You said you needed a ride. I do. His gaze dropped to the hospital bracelet around her wrist, then to the discharge papers, then back to her face. He didn't ask what happened. Not yet. Can you walk? Maya straightened. Yes. Marcus looked at the hand gripping the chair. That wasn't convincing. I can walk. Something passed through his eyes, but he didn't argue. Instead, he pulled out the chair beside hers and sat down. Maya stared at him. What are you doing? Sitting. I can see that. Then why did you ask? She almost smiled. Almost. The hospital continued around them. A television murmured above the waiting area. Rubber saws squeaked across polished floors. Somewhere down the corridor, a monitor sounded 3 soft electronic notes. Marcus Cole, the man people supposedly crossed streets to avoid, sat beneath fluorescent lights beside a broken vending machine and waited. No demands. No questions. Maya lowered herself back into her chair. For nearly a minute, neither spoke. Then Marcus said, Are you ready to go home? Not who did this. Not who left you here. Not even what happened. Just home. The word nearly broke her. Maya looked away. Yes. Marcus stood and extended his hand. She looked at it. Large. Steady. Empty. 14 months earlier, that hand had offered her an envelope full of money. Tonight it offered nothing except help standing. Maya took it. At the reception desk, a nurse glanced up. Ms. Brooks. Maya stopped. We still need the responsible party signature confirming someone is taking you home. I told you I don't have. I'll sign. Marcus stepped forward. The nurse looked at him, then at Maya. Something in her expression changed. Recognition, perhaps. Or simply the instinct people had around men who carried authority without displaying it. She slid the clipboard toward him. Marcus read every line before signing. Maya noticed that too. Outside, rain rattled against the entrance canopy. Marcus opened the passenger door of the SUV. Maya stopped. You really drove yourself? Yes. You could have sent somebody. Yes. Then why didn't you? Marcus rested. One hand on the open door. Because you didn't call somebody. Her eyes lifted to his. You called me. No grand declaration followed. He simply waited. Maya got inside. The interior smelled faintly of leather and cedar. Warm air surrounded her immediately. Marcus removed his coat and placed it across her knees without asking. I'm fine. You're shivering. It's cold. That's usually why people shiver. This time she did smile. Marcus closed the door. But before he could walk around the SUV, a voice came from beneath the hospital canopy. Maya. Her smile vanished. Marcus turned. A man stood near the entrance, breathing hard as though he'd been running. 30-something. Expensive jacket. Car keys in one hand. Maya went completely still. Marcus saw the change before he saw the man. Her shoulders tightened. Her fingers closed around his coat. The stranger approached. Maya, listen. I can explain. Marcus looked through the open doorway at her. Is this the person who left you? Maya said nothing. That was enough. Marcus slowly closed the passenger door and turned toward the man. For one dangerous second, the Marcus Cole Chicago whispered about appeared beneath the calm surface. The stranger felt it. He stopped, but then Maya opened the door. Marcus. One word. Marcus looked back. Please. Her eyes were steady now. Don't. The rain filled the silence between them. Marcus could have destroyed the man standing 10 feet away with a phone call. Maya knew it. The stranger seemed to know it too. But she hadn't called Marcus because she wanted revenge. She had called because she wanted someone to come. Marcus held Maya's gaze. Then he did something far more difficult than frightening a man who deserved his anger. He stepped back. Get in the car, he told her quietly. The stranger blinked. Who the hell are you? Marcus opened the driver's door. Maya watched him across the roof of the SUV. He never answered. He didn't need to. Seconds later, they pulled away from St. Catherine's, leaving the man standing alone beneath the hospital lights. Marcus kept both hands on the wheel. Maya stared through the rain-streaked window. After 3 blocks, she whispered, Thank you for coming. She shook her head. For stopping. Marcus looked at her. And for perhaps the first time in his life, Marcus Cole understood that sometimes the hardest demonstration of power was choosing not to use it. Don't make them respect me because they're afraid of you. Maya's words cut through the quiet interior of the SUV. Marcus glanced at her. Chicago moved beyond the windows in wet streaks of amber and white, traffic lights bleeding across rain-covered glass. His coat still rested over Maya's knees, but her hands were no longer trembling. What makes you think that's what I was going to do? Maya gave him a look. Marcus returned his attention to the road. Fair. For several blocks, neither spoke. Then he asked, Who was he? Maya's fingers tightened around the discharge papers. His name is Adrian. The man who left you. Yes. Your boyfriend. A pause. Was. That single word told Marcus more than she intended. His jaw hardened. What happened tonight? Maya stared through the windshield. She had spent hours swallowing the humiliation. Saying it aloud somehow made it heavier. I had a medical procedure this evening. Nothing life-threatening. The doctor said I couldn't drive afterward, so Adrian promised he'd stay. Marcus said nothing. He was there when they admitted me. He held my purse. Told me not to worry. Her voice became quieter. When I woke up, he was gone. Why? Maya laughed once. There was no humor in it. Because waiting became inconvenient. Marcus's hands tightened around the steering wheel. He texted me before they took me back. Said his friends were downtown. I told him I needed him there. And he said he'd stay. Rain swept beneath the tires. But he didn't. No, Marcus's voice turned cold. He left a woman recovering from a procedure alone at midnight because his friends were waiting? Marcus, I'm asking. No, you're getting angry. I can do both. Maya looked at him. There it was again, that controlled darkness people feared. She understood how easy it would be for him. One name, one phone call. Adrian could lose his job by breakfast. His landlord might suddenly reconsider his lease. Doors he didn't even No Marcus controlled could close quietly around him. And that frightened Maya more than Adrian's cowardice. Don't. Marcus glanced toward her. Don't what? Punish him for me. He deserves consequences. Maybe. Definitely. But they have to be mine. That silenced him. Maya pulled his coat closer around herself. I spent tonight feeling powerless enough. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and discover you destroyed somebody because I cried in your car. I never said you cried. Marcus. His mouth almost moved. Almost. Then Maya continued. If Adrian apologizes, I decide whether I accept it. If I never speak to him again, I decide that too. But if he suddenly becomes terrified of me because Marcus Cole appeared at the hospital. She shook her head. That's not respect. The words landed harder than an accusation. Marcus had spent most of his adult life constructing exactly that confusion. Fear looked like respect when everyone lowered their eyes. Obedience looked like loyalty when nobody dared say no. Silence looked like agreement when consequences waited behind disagreement. Maya saw the difference immediately. Then why did you call me? He asked. She turned toward him. The question wasn't angry. That made it harder. If you didn't want my money and you don't want my influence and you don't want me handling Adrian. Marcus slowed at a red light. Why me? Maya looked down at the black coat covering her knees. 14 months ago, he had handed her a card. One number. One promise. She had carried it through overdue bills, double shifts, lonely birthdays, and nights when pride was the only thing she still owned. Tonight, she hadn't needed a mafia boss. She had needed someone who meant what he said. Because I thought you might come. Marcus stopped breathing for half a second. Maya met his eyes. Not frightened. Not impressed. Just honest. I didn't know who else would. The traffic light turned green. A horn sounded behind them. Marcus didn't move. All his life, people had trusted what he could do to others. Tonight, one woman had trusted what he would do for her. Come. Nothing more. Marcus finally drove forward. His voice, when it came, was almost a whisper. You called the right number. Maya looked out the window before he could see her eyes fill. And Marcus Cole understood something that no amount of money had ever taught him. She had not chosen him because he was powerful. She had chosen him because 14 months ago, he had given his word. And tonight, he had kept it. By sunrise, Marcus Cole had already discovered 3 ways to destroy Adrian's life. He used none of them. That was the part Darius couldn't understand. You want me to do nothing? Marcus stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of his private office, watching Chicago emerge beneath a gray morning sky. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets polished like black glass. Behind him, Darius placed a thin folder on the desk. Adrian Walker, 32. Assistant Operations Manager for a private medical supply company. Apartment in Bronzeville. No criminal record. 2 overdue credit cards. One employer whose largest distribution contract happened to pass through a company Marcus quietly controlled. Darius tapped the folder. 1 call and he's unemployed. Marcus said nothing. 2 calls and his landlord suddenly remembers 3 lease violations. Still nothing. Darius studied him. A year ago, you wouldn't have needed the 2nd call. Marcus turned. A year ago, Maya hadn't asked me to stop. That ended the discussion. Or should have. Darius leaned against the desk. You're Marcus Cole. I'm aware. People don't embarrass someone under your protection and walk away. Marcus's eyes hardened. She isn't under my protection. Darius raised an eyebrow. Marcus looked toward the city again. She doesn't belong to me. The distinction mattered. More than Marcus expected. Maya had not called asking him to become her weapon. She had called because she believed he would come. And if he turned that trust into ownership, then he would become another man deciding what happened to her without asking. Marcus closed Adrian's file. Find out what happened at the hospital. Darius frowned. You just said. I said don't touch Adrian. Marcus pushed the folder aside. I want facts. By 10 that morning, those facts were waiting. And they changed the shape of the night. Maya had not merely been left without transportation. After Adrian disappeared, a billing clerk had repeatedly asked whether she had someone responsible who could settle an outstanding administrative charge before discharge. Maya had explained that she could pay the balance on Friday. The clerk had insisted. When Maya asked for a payment plan, a supervisor was called. Then security. No one had physically threatened her. That was what made it worse. They had simply spoken around her, over her, as if a black woman sitting alone after midnight with $7 in her purse could not possibly understand the paperwork being discussed in front of her. By the time the issue was resolved, Maya had been crying in a restroom where nobody could see. Marcus read the report twice. His phone was already in his hand when he stopped. "Don't make them respect me because they're afraid of you." Her voice returned immediately. Marcus slowly placed the phone down. At 10:17 a.m., Maya woke to someone knocking on her apartment door. She expected her landlord. Instead, Marcus stood in the hallway holding 2 coffees and a paper bag. She blinked. "You again. Good morning to you too. You know normal people text before showing up. I've been told I'm not normal. That might be the first accurate rumor about you." Marcus almost smiled. Maya stepped aside. Her apartment was small but immaculate. Morning sunlight fell across thrift store furniture, framed family photographs, and a row of nursing textbooks stacked beneath the coffee table. Marcus noticed them. He said nothing. Maya sat carefully. "What happened?" Marcus placed a coffee in front of her. "I know about the billing desk." Her expression changed. "Marcus, I didn't threaten anyone. Did you call anyone?" "No." "Did Darius?" "No." She searched his face. "Then what did you do?" "I listened." That answer disarmed her. Marcus sat across from her. "The hospital has a patient advocacy office. You can file a formal complaint. The security footage can be preserved. The names of the employees involved can be documented." Maya stared at him. "You looked all that up?" "I had help." A faint smile touched her mouth. "Of course you did." Marcus leaned forward. "If you want to walk away, we walk away. And if I don't, then you speak." Maya's smile disappeared. "And you? I stand behind you." She looked at him for a long moment. Not in front of her. Not speaking for her. Behind her. Marcus could have frightened everyone involved before breakfast. Instead, he was offering Maya something harder. Choice. She reached for the coffee. "Okay." Marcus nodded. "Okay." Outside, Chicago continued waking. And somewhere between midnight and morning, the most dangerous man in the city had discovered a different use for power. Not forcing the world to kneel. Making sure one woman could stand. "You had other people you could have called." Marcus said it quietly. Maya stopped stirring her coffee. Morning light filled her apartment now, soft and golden against the worn hardwood floor. Marcus sat across from her at the tiny kitchen table, looking almost too large for the chair beneath him. She raised an eyebrow. "Are you complaining?" "No." "Because you came voluntarily." "I remember." "Good." Marcus leaned back. "I'm asking why you called me." Maya's expression changed. They had circled this question all night. At the hospital. In the SUV. Now here. She looked toward the purse hanging from the back of a chair. Inside it was the black card. 14 months old. Edges worn. Silver ink faded from being touched too many times. "I almost called my mother," Maya said. Marcus waited. "She would have come." "Then why didn't you call her?" "Because she would have driven 2 hours in the middle of the night after working 10 hours yesterday." Maya looked down. "My cousin Renee would have come too. She has 3 kids. My friend Tasha works nights." "So you did have people?" "Yes." Marcus frowned. "Then I still don't understand." Maya gave him a tired smile. "That's because people like you think having someone's phone number means you're allowed to need them." The sentence caught him off guard. Maya stood slowly, crossed the room, and took the black card from her purse. She placed it between them. Marcus recognized his own handwriting. "If nobody else answers, call me." "I carried this everywhere," she said. His eyes lifted. "Why?" "I don't know." That wasn't true. They both knew it. Maya sat again. There were nights I almost used it. When my car broke down last winter. Marcus frowned. You walked to work? Bus. You could have called. I know. When else? My rent went up. His jaw tightened. When else? Maya smiled faintly. You're starting to sound offended that I survived without you. Marcus said nothing. That smile disappeared. There were birthdays, she continued. Bad shifts. Nights when I got home so tired I ate crackers over the sink because cooking felt like too much work. Her fingers touched the card. But those weren't emergencies. Marcus looked at her. And last night was? Maya was quiet for a long time. No, that answer surprised him. Then why? She looked directly into his eyes. Because last night I didn't need someone to fix anything. The apartment seemed to grow still. I needed someone to show up. Marcus didn't move. Maya continued. When you gave me this card, you didn't say call if I need money. Her fingertip tapped it once. You didn't say call if I'm in danger. Again. You said if nobody else answers. Marcus remembered the corridor. Blood on Maya's hands. The envelope she refused. The way she pushed her cleaning cart away as though Marcus Cole were simply another man taking up space during her shift. I thought you were just saying something, Maya admitted. What changed? Nothing. She looked toward the window. I just decided to find out if you meant it. The words hit harder than accusation. Marcus had built his life around promises backed by consequences. Men believed him because they knew what happened if they didn't. Maya had believed something entirely different. His word. Nothing behind it. No threat. No contract. No fear. Just his word. Marcus's voice dropped. And if I hadn't answered? Maya's expression softened. I would have gone home eventually. That isn't what I asked. She understood. Something vulnerable appeared in her eyes. I would have thrown the card away. Marcus looked down at it. For reasons he couldn't explain, that possibility disturbed him more than losing money, territory, or loyalty ever had. Maya slid the card toward him. But you answered. Marcus didn't touch it. And I came. You did. Their eyes met. For several seconds, neither looked away. Then Marcus asked the question he had been avoiding since midnight. Why did you believe I would? Maya breathed slowly. Because 14 months ago, when everybody else was worried about who Darius was, I watched you worry about whether he was alive. Marcus froze. You were dangerous then too, she said. I knew that. A faint sadness entered her smile. But dangerous isn't the same as heartless. Silence. Marcus had been called ruthless, cold, monster, boss. Nobody had ever separated the man from his reputation so simply. Maya pushed the card back toward him. You gave me one promise without asking me to earn it. Marcus stared at the card, then at her. She whispered, I called because you're the only person who ever told me you'd come without first asking me to prove I deserved it. Marcus Cole had survived bullets without flinching. He had buried friends without crying. He had watched grown men tremble when he entered rooms. But sitting in Maya Brooks's tiny kitchen, he had no defense against those words. He pushed the card back across the table. Keep it. Maya looked down. Why? Marcus stood. His voice was quiet. Because if it rings again. He met her eyes. I'll answer. 3 days later, Maya Brooks walked back into St. Catherine's Hospital. This time she wasn't alone. Marcus Cole entered beside her, but he did not walk ahead. That mattered. The patient advocacy office sat on the 4th floor behind frosted glass doors, far removed from the fluorescent loneliness of the emergency wing. Morning sunlight spilled across polished tile. Everything smelled faintly of coffee, antiseptic, and expensive furniture chosen to make uncomfortable conversations feel civilized. Maya stopped outside the conference room. Marcus noticed her hand tighten around the folder she carried. You can still leave. She looked at him. Do you want me to? No. Then stop giving me exits. Something almost warm crossed his face. Yes, ma'am. Maya opened the door. For people were waiting. Karen Whitmore, the hospital's patient relations director. Dr. Ethan Parker, who had treated Maya that night, the billing supervisor, and the clerk who had repeatedly questioned Maya about payment while she was still recovering. The clerk recognized Marcus immediately. Her face changed. So did the supervisors. Maya saw it happen. Fear. Instant. Automatic. Exactly what she had wanted to avoid. Marcus saw it too. "Mr. Cole," Karen began quickly, "we weren't aware you would personally. He isn't here to speak for me." Maya's voice stopped the room. Everyone looked at her. Marcus said nothing. Maya pulled out a chair. Her hands wanted to tremble. She refused to let them. Karen cleared her throat. "Of course, Ms. Brooks." Maya sat. Marcus remained standing behind her. Not beside her. Not in front. Behind. Karen opened a file. "We reviewed the security footage and interviewed the staff members involved." The billing supervisor shifted uncomfortably. "There appears to have been a misunderstanding." Maya's eyes hardened. "No, silence." The supervisor blinked. Maya continued. "A misunderstanding is when two people hear something differently." Her voice was calm now. "What happened was that I explained my situation 3 times, and nobody listened." The clerk looked down. "I was following procedure. You asked me if there was someone responsible who could handle the bill." The clerk swallowed. "I meant financially responsible." "I was financially responsible." Maya placed both hands on the table. "I just couldn't pay the entire amount that night." No one interrupted. "You spoke slowly to me like I couldn't understand you. You called security after I asked about a payment plan. And when I said the person who was supposed to drive me home had left, you looked at me like that proved something about who I was." The clerk's cheeks reddened. "I never intended." "I know." Maya's answer came softly. "That might be the worst part." The room went still. "You didn't wake up that night planning to humiliate me. You just looked at a black woman sitting alone after midnight, wearing cheap clothes, asking for time to pay." Maya's eyes remained steady. "And decided what kind of person I must be." Marcus watched from behind her. He had seen men face guns with less courage than Maya showed sitting at that table. Karen closed the folder. "Ms. Brooks, the hospital failed you." Nobody moved. "We should have handled your discharge differently. Security should never have been involved in a billing discussion. We are opening a formal review." Maya breathed out slowly. "And the next woman?" Karen looked at her. "What?" "The next woman who doesn't have Marcus Cole standing behind her." Marcus's eyes shifted. That question changed the room. Maya leaned forward. "What happens to her?" Karen had no immediate answer. Finally, Dr. Parker spoke. "We changed the policy." Everyone turned. He looked at Maya. "Billing disputes will be separated from discharge transportation decisions. Patient advocacy will be available overnight, and staff will receive updated training." Maya studied him. "Put it in writing." Marcus almost smiled. Karen nodded. "We will." Only then did Maya sit back. No threats had been made. No careers destroyed. No frightened phone calls placed in dark rooms. Yet everyone at that table understood something had changed. The clerk turned toward Maya. "I'm sorry." Maya looked at her for a long moment. "Thank you." She didn't say it was okay, because it hadn't been. And forgiveness did not require pretending otherwise. The meeting ended 20 minutes later. Outside the conference room, Maya released a breath she seemed to have been holding for 3 days. Marcus handed her a cup of water. "You didn't say anything. You told me not to. You actually listened. I occasionally surprise people." Maya smiled. Then she looked through the glass at the room behind them. "They weren't scared of me." "No. They listened anyway." Marcus nodded. "How does that feel?" Maya considered the question. "Better." They walked toward the elevator. Behind them, the hospital administrators remained around the table, discussing changes that would exist long after Marcus Cole left the building. And as the elevator doors closed, Marcus understood why Maya had stopped him that rainy night. Fear could silence a room, but dignity could change what happened after the silence was gone. 3 weeks later, Maya Brooks tried to return the black card. Marcus Cole refused to take it. They were sitting in a small cafe on the south side, far from marble offices, private conference rooms, and men who lowered their voices whenever Marcus entered. Afternoon sunlight poured through the front windows, warming the wooden table between them. Maya placed the card beside his coffee. "I don't need this anymore." Marcus looked down. The edges were softer now. The silver numbers had faded where her fingers had touched them over 14 months. He pushed it back. "Keep it." Maya pushed it toward him again. "Marcus." "Maya. That's annoying. I've been called worse." She smiled despite herself. Life had quietly begun moving forward. St. Catherine's had sent her a written apology. The hospital confirmed new overnight patient advocacy procedures and revised discharge policies. The billing clerk had received additional training rather than being publicly humiliated or fired. Exactly what Maya had wanted. Adrian had called 11 times. She answered once. He apologized. She listened. Then she told him she wished him well and ended the relationship. No revenge. No threats. No Marcus Cole. Just a closed door. Marcus had respected that too. Maya lifted the card. "Why do you want me to keep it?" Marcus took a slow drink of coffee. "Insurance." "Against what?" "People abandoning you at hospitals." She laughed. A real laugh this time. Marcus watched her, and something unfamiliar settled inside him. Peace. He had spent years surrounded by people who laughed when he expected them to, agreed when it was safer to agree, and called themselves loyal because fear made leaving difficult. Maya did none of those things. She challenged him, refused his money, stopped him when he was angry, and somehow trusted him anyway. She turned the card over between her fingers. "I really don't think I'll need it again." Marcus's expression changed. "That's not why I want you to have it." Maya looked up. "Then why?" For once, Marcus Cole seemed to search for words. Outside, a city bus sighed to a stop. Someone pushed open the cafe door, bringing in a brief rush of traffic noise. Before it closed again, Marcus looked at the card. "When I gave you that number, I thought I was paying a debt. You said it wasn't payment." "I lied." Maya raised an eyebrow. "At least you're improving." He almost smiled. "I didn't understand why you refused the money. It bothered me." "Why?" "Because money makes things simple." His gaze became distant. "You do something for me. I pay you. We're even." Maya listened. "But you wouldn't let me make us even." "No. So I gave you the number." Marcus paused. "I thought eventually you'd call because you needed something I could buy." Maya's expression softened. "But I didn't." "No. You called because you needed me to show up." Silence settled between them. "And I realized something." Maya waited. Marcus looked directly at her. "I've spent most of my life making sure people know what happens when I say no." His voice lowered. "You made me understand the kind of man I want to be when I say yes." Maya's fingers stopped moving. No expensive gift could have made the moment heavier. No grand gesture could have made it more honest. She looked down at the black card, then slipped it carefully back into her purse. Marcus said nothing. He didn't need to. Months later, the hospital's new overnight advocacy program would help patients Maya would never meet. Darius would still joke that Marcus had become soft. Marcus would still walk into rooms and make dangerous men reconsider their choices. And Maya would continue building the life she had nearly convinced herself she didn't deserve. Eventually returning to school, one nursing class at a time. Neither of them became someone else's possession. Neither needed saving forever. What changed was simpler. Maya learned that asking for help did not erase her strength. Marcus learned that offering help did not give him ownership over another person's choices. One midnight phone call had taught them both the difference. At the cafe door, Maya stopped. "Marcus." He turned. "If I call again someday." A faint smile touched his face. "I'll answer." Maya nodded and stepped into the afternoon sunlight. Marcus watched her disappear into the crowd. 14 months earlier, he had written one number on a black card because he believed every debt should eventually be repaid. He had been wrong. Some acts of kindness were not debts. Some promises were not transactions. And sometimes the greatest proof of power wasn't having an entire city answer when you called. It was becoming the kind of person someone could call at midnight. And that day, the world remembered what dignity looks like.